Well, the Golden Globes have done the impossible. They've united America. Everybody hated the Golden Globes this year, except maybe Jimmy Kimmel. Now, he's going to be the host of the Oscars in a few weeks, and I think the chances are he's realizing he has a pretty easy act to follow. Now, I didn't hate the Globes. I mean, part of it's simple. I don't expect anything from award shows these days. If they don't insult me directly, if they actually show some real gratitude, and maybe they give me a smile once per hour, I'm shocked and maybe even pleasantly surprised. That's exactly what I got from this year's Golden Globes. And the funniest part of the night, the fact that Hollywood has already put the Golden Globe scandals behind them. Remember how the Hollywood Foreign Press didn't have any black members in its voting membership? Well, that shut down the show 2 years ago, and then last year they brought it back, and all they did was basically do a huge mea culpa. We're sorry, we'll do better next time. It was like a hostage apology. It was disgusting. You really want to apologize for the Golden Globes? Well, Google Golden Globes and Pia Zador, and you will see exactly what I mean. That's a scandal. The funny thing is the industry's attempt to cancel the fair took about 2 years off its life. It was back to normal Sunday with a couple of shocking twists. First of all, so much gratitude. Now listen, every award show is filled with gratitude. I'd like to thank my directors, my agents, my loved ones, my co-stars. That's what these shows are all about. That's not new. But Sunday's show was a little bit different. They did all that. But the thank yous extended beyond the usual suspects. Some of the winners honored the crew members, the folks who make these movies possible, but don't get any attention. One star even thanked her personal assistant. You know, the people who fetch the coffee and make their lives just a little bit easier. And some even thanked us, the audience. Hey, thank you for coming back to the movies after the pandemic. I was shocked. It was refreshing. It was wonderful. Here's how Margot Robbie of Barbie fame thanked the audience for her win in the newly created category Best Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. Yeah, it's a terrible idea and a terrible title, but you get the drift, and it did let Margot Robbie say this.
Last but not least, thank you so much to the Golden Globes for creating an award that celebrates movie fans. This is a movie about Barbie, but it's also a movie about humans. We made it, it's about you. We made it for you, and we made it with love, and thank you for loving it back.
All right, why the change in tone? Maybe the stars honored the producer's wishes. There was a story that just dropped. They said that they don't want the stars to get political. And that makes sense. You know, a couple of years ago, the New York Times had a story about kind of behind the scenes at the Oscars. And the producers of the show, they would watch the ratings minute by minute. They can see when it goes up. They can see when it goes down. And when the stars get political, the ratings drop. And they know this. And yet, every year, every award show, we get lots and lots of political banter. What a terrible decision, but that's Hollywood. Or it could be the fallout from the dueling strikes last year. I think some actors just really realize for the first time in a long time how lucky they are to work at this level, to be honored like this, to be paid so handsomely, to be among such beautiful people and such talented people. Or I guess you could say that maybe the actors understand the economic situation that Hollywood's in right now. There's already stories out from major publications saying that 2024 box office is going to be a disaster. But no matter why, the Golden Globes were much more upbeat than I expected, and it was almost woke-free and definitely apolitical. Now, to get there, to enjoy, and I use that term loosely, audience had to grind through one of the worst opening monologues I've seen in quite some time, and it was a shock to me. Jo Koy is a very funny comedian. He's upbeat, he's optimistic, and he's talented. He's a very good stand-up comedian. He's been doing it for decades now. But as we've been told, and it seems pretty obvious, he was chosen very late in the game. They couldn't get a host for the show. No one wants it. I mean, we all want Ricky Gervais to come back, but he's not coming back. So he had what he called 9 days to prepare. He probably had a little bit more than that, but not that much more. And that is not enough time for a show like this. And boy, did it show. His jokes went from mediocre to really insulting. There were some crude gags there, nothing that offended me, but, if you're going to work Blue, you've got to have snap. You've got to really sell the joke, make it so funny that even the stuffy people in the seats, the ones clutching their pearls, they're going to laugh too. That's what you do with a dirty joke. You've got to make it sing. And the funny thing is that, maybe not funny to Jo Koy, but he knew he was bombing mid-performance, and he started to disassemble. He started to blame this and that for the reason why he was failing. Johnny Carson was great at that. When a joke was bombing, when something wasn't working, he would pull something out of his hat. He would be self-deprecating, and he would turn a bad joke into a big laugh. He was a genius at that. But Jo Koy just couldn't pull it off last night. And then blaming his joke writers for some of the worst material, that's not a good look. I think he's going to regret that, that's for sure. Overall, this was not a good monologue.
Oppenheimer and Barbie are competing for cinematic box office achievement. Oppenheimer is based on a 721-page Pulitzer Prize-winning book about the Manhattan Project. And Barbie is on a plastic doll with big boobies. I watched Barbie. I loved it. I really did love it. I don't want you guys to think that I'm a creep, but it was kind of weird being attracted to a plastic doll.
This is the Golden Globes. There's a lot of acting talent in that room, and they couldn't even gather the energy to give him a pity laugh. Just brutal. At one point, Koy poked fun at Robert De Niro. Now, you can make fun of Robert De Niro. You can mock his political takes. He's so anti-Trump. It's cartoonish at this point, but the monologue made fun of his impregnated girlfriend because, of course, De Niro is 80 now, and I'm going to guess he was 78 or 79 when he did that particular deed. Now, that's a personal shot, and it wasn't really funny, and it certainly wasn't necessary, and it didn't go with the upbeat vibe that he was trying to create on the show. Koy also mocked Oppenheimer for its running time. The film is famously 3 hours long, and he threw multiple gags at the topic. I thought only one stuck, but barely.
I loved Oppenheimer. I just got one complaint. Needed another hour. I felt like it needed some more backstory. My New Year's resolution for 2024 is to finish Oppenheimer in 2025. Like, seriously, I'm almost there. I love Oppenheimer, especially the first season.
Now, to his credit, Koy kept the monologue completely free of politics. That was the most shocking part of the night. And probably the best thing you could have said about his set. The show itself, well, it wasn't as bad as that, but I'd say it was efficient. Award after award after award. None of those silly moments, none of those forced gags. They really just go on because they are combining TV and movies. They've got a lot of awards to hand out. You've got to get them done quickly, and that's what they did. The big winners of the night, well, it wasn't just one, but multiple shows and movies that really cleaned up. Thinking Oppenheimer, Succession, Poor Things, Beef, and The Bear. That's one I haven't seen yet. I need to catch up with that. And by the way, I think Beef is very good. There's talk of a second season, which seems unnecessary. The show ended poorly, but up until then, I thought it was very clever, very unique, and kind of an interesting way to look at culture. And I really recommend Beef if you haven't seen that one yet, but obviously so do the Golden Globes. Now, the presenters at the awards, it's always an uneven situation. I thought the good moments maybe barely outweighed the bad. Kevin Costner was there. He's an icon, and he was trying to praise the feminism of Barbie. He was up there with America Ferrera, and I just thought the bit came off poorly. I couldn't tell whether he was bored or disinterested or just didn't practice enough. The whole bit was just him stammering and looking uncomfortable, and, that can be done for comic effect, but I don't think it pulled off here. Not at all. I think my favorite introduction was from Saturday Night Live stars Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell. And they turned what should have been a pretty creaky gag. They were giving their presentation, and the orchestra kept playing and interrupting them into a very funny bit. They started dancing. They kind of went with the moment. It was simple. It was sweet. It was exactly what you want from a presenter like this. One of the more unexpected moments came from Jim Gaffigan, Mr. Clean Comedy Jim Gaffigan. He shocked everyone with a joke that I think was the edgiest one of the night.
I mean, I can't even believe I'm in the entertainment industry. I can't. It's so unlikely. I'm from a small town in Indiana. I'm not a pedophile.
One of the lowlights for me was watching Issa Rae from American Fiction playing the woke card oh so briefly. She was up there introducing, I don't even know what the category was, but she was saying how she loves to play white people roles. And she was going on, and the bit didn't work. Lily Gladstone, who's been doing a lot of woke gesturing during her award season run, well, she won for Best Actress. Of course, she's with the Killers of the Flower Moon, and I think she's got a good chance of winning the Oscar as well. And she used the woke buzzword, of all woke buzzwords, allies, twice in her speech. Now, she didn't make a serious statement, but she was talking about how this is historic and having the Native American experience on the screen matters and how important it was to her. And you know what? Take those buzzwords away, she's right. It was a very personal moment. It was really in touch with the movie itself, which, of course, is the story about how white people were just horrific to Native Americans in the early part of the 20th century. They misled them, they stole from them, they killed them. So her comments, you could say they're woke, but they did connect with the movie itself, and I think that's always appropriate. Now, I think the bigger question here is, will the Oscars be like this? Now, the Oscars will be boring. There's so much bloat. There's so much excess. I get that. But will the Oscars be far less political than in the past? Or will Jimmy Kimmel just be Jimmy Kimmel and just be as political and as partisan as he always is? I don't know. We'll find out for sure on March 12th when the Oscar ceremony begins, but I would like to think that Jimmy Kimmel is smart enough to say, my buddy Jo Koy didn't really do so well, but, he was upbeat. He kept it apolitical. Maybe I'll give that a try. So, fingers crossed. Now, we already know that the press hated the show, and specifically Jo Koy, and I get that, but boy, they didn't hold back. Here's what Variety had to say about the show. It turns out this year's Globes was still a train wreck, just not the kind one likes to watch. At just a hair over 3 hours, the ceremony was efficient on paper, but felt interminable in practice. With forced banter, ill-conceived staging, and a woefully unqualified MC, this year's show was hardly a triumphant return, let alone a showcase for a new and improved Golden Globes. Well, not to be outdone, The Hollywood Reporter, they weighed in too, and it was just as unkind. Despite seeming even more densely star-studded than usual, Sunday night's 81st annual Golden Globes telecast was the dullest awards show I've ever watched, and I'm including every solemn and uncomfortable awards show aired during the COVID pandemic, when people were producing shows via Zoom and having hosts film in their own garages. The sense of joy replaced by pervasive melancholy. This show didn't have joy or melancholy or much of anything. Ouch. What did they expect? Again, I expected nothing. Literally nothing. To me, watching award shows is my personal form of torture. Yes, I'm a professional film critic. Isn't that cool? But I gotta watch the Oscars every year. So it kind of balances out. Now I can add the Globes to that list. Oh, now two terrible times of the year. No, I did appreciate the gratitude. I really did. And I love the fact that names like Trump and Biden were nowhere to be seen. No one mentioned them during the 3-hour affair. That's shocking too. But I think we're getting close to the point, where even Hollywood executives are realizing that there are a million better ways to spend your night than watching an award show. Maybe 2 million. Alrighty, that's it for this mini episode. Please smash that like button on YouTube. Check us out on favorite podcast platform. Subscribe if you can. There's much more content coming your way. It is 2024 and we are just getting started. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.